So I've recently just finished all 97 chapters of Chainsaw Man, and all I gotta say is that I was blown away and did not think I would have liked the series as much as I did. And to my surprise, however, what I really was only reading was part 1 of Chainsaw Man, and part 2 is scheduled to be releasing its first chapter sometime this year. Possibly either once the anime announcement drops or either towards the end of this year. Now, while part 1 of Chainsaw Man has concluded, it seems as though the conclusion of the series is not yet over. All we really know at this point is that Chainsaw Man Part 2 is a continuation of Chapter 97 and will be starting Volume 12 of the main series. Though the series creator Tatsuki Fujimoto created a one-shot before Chainsaw Man called Yogen no Nayuta that essentially could tie into Chainsaw Man Part 2, and I simply just wanted to give my thoughts on what it's about and also my thoughts on what we could possibly expect for Chainsaw Man Part 2. So that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. So if it wasn't obvious already, spoilers ahead for Chainsaw Man. You have been warned. So by the conclusion of Chainsaw Man, we are left with the reveal at the end of the chapter that the Control Devil was reincarnated into a young girl named Nayuta, who was discovered in China, and Kishibe took her in to live in Japan alongside Denji. Towards the end of the chapter, Denji and Pochita have a conversation between the two of them where Pochita thanks Denji for making his dream come true, which was to be hugged by someone, as his strength made it really hard for anyone to be able to hug him in the first place. Denji questions if it is possible to fulfill the Control Devil's dream, which Makima originally stated was to form bonds and develop something like a family. But the only way she knew how to develop relationships was through the power of control and manipulation, and thus couldn't accomplish her dream. Pochita then goes on to say that Denji can possibly make the Control Devil's dream become a reality by simply caring for her, and by the end of the chapter it is shown that Denji is now enrolled in as a high school student, which is something that he really never got to experience growing up. Now, with the finale of Chainsaw Man in mind, let's drive our attention to Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shot, Yogen no Nayuta. Yogen no Nayuta is otherwise known as the Prophecy of Nayuta, and it's about a girl named Nayuta who is rumored to bring forth a prophecy to one day bring destruction upon the world through the use of her powers. Everyone who comes in contact with her is scared of her. However, her older brother Kenji does his best to support her after the death of their parents, and even takes responsibility for the actions that Nayuta commits, such as when she slaughters the farmer's livestock. Kenji goes as far as taking up jobs in order to help put food on the table for Nayuta, as she is always hungry while hardly ever eating himself. To be honest, the entire one-shot is a gloomy yet wholesome read, and I think at least provides a little bit of insight into what part 2 of Chainsaw Man is headed. It is also worth mentioning how similar the character Nayuta looks compared to the little girl in the finale of Chainsaw Man, who is also named Nayuta. Also, Nayuta's brother, Kenji, bears an obvious correlation to that of Denji. The reason I bring up this story within the discussion of this video is to showcase the relationship between the two characters and how these characters' situations will possibly be carried over to part 2 of Chainsaw Man. So while we still do not know of what part 2 of Chainsaw Man will contain, keeping the finale of Chainsaw Man as well as the one-shot of Yogen no Nayuta in mind, we can at least draw several connections to give us an idea of where the series might be headed. First of all, we do know that the next part of Chainsaw Man will be titled the Academy Saga. Given the fact that Denji seems to have enrolled in as a high school student, it looks like our protagonist will finally be getting some proper education. Second, it looks like Denji is going to have to take the responsibility of being the older brother towards looking after Nayuta, which is a huge undertaking to begin with, given the fact that Nayuta has a strong devil residing within her known as the Control Devil, which Makima originally possessed. Due to this, I'm expecting that while this may be an academy-focused story arc, I'm sure it's going to be filled with tension, as most likely there are going to be others who want the Control Devil's powers, and possibly even that of the Chainsaw Man's. Kishibe even brings up a discussion that if Nayuta was left with the government and they raised her, there is a high probability that she would turn out like Makima. Whether it be through the government, an unnamed faction, or even other devils themselves looking for more power, I'm pretty sure that we will most likely be seeing tension building when it comes down to individuals who may be after the control devil's power. Still, the complete opposite can play an effect as well, and there could be an instance in which Nayuta's powers run wild, almost to the point of being uncontrollable, and if this series couldn't get any more tragic, Denji might have to put her down eventually. Lastly, and this may be pushing it, but I wanted to give my thoughts on this as some of the Chainsaw Man community are theorizing that possibly with the next installment of Chainsaw Man, we might see possible developments with Denji trying to bring back Aki and power. It has been confirmed within the story of Chainsaw Man that devils never truly die, and instead go back and forth between the human world and hell. So power being sent back to hell is likely a given, and due to the fate that Aki faces by the end of the series turning into a gun fiend himself, there might be the possibility that Denji might be able to revive both of them, but we are unsure of how this whole process could come about. Of course, this is all speculation, but reviving power could be more of a likely scenario, as in chapter 91, she states that while devils are reborn in hell, they will not be who they once were. But if there is the possibility that they will meet, it will most likely be as enemies. However, she states that by finding the Blood Devil and by somehow making friends with them, there is the possibility that Denji can turn the devil back into power. So when it comes to reviving power, it is a high probability that such an event can occur and shouldn't be entirely ruled out. However, in the case of Aki, I'm really not too sure. So from the developments that we have gotten from the Chainsaw Man Part 1 finale, as well as the dynamic of the two siblings from Fujimoto's one-shot, Yogen no Nayuta, I think these are at least some key factors that we should take into consideration. There are still many other questions revolving around the universe of Chainsaw Man, and hopefully most of this will be answered in Part 2. Will we see the return of power? Could we possibly see Aki again? Will Nayuta become corrupted and lead a path of destruction? Honestly, we will just have to wait in due time to see what plays out in Chainsaw Man Part 2. But either way, I'm excited for what Tatsuki Fujimoto has planned next. Let me know what you all thought about this video in the comments down below, and if you would like to hear more of my thoughts on the Chainsaw Man series, and as well as other things on the channel, then don't forget to drop a like as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications so you can stay up to date for when I post my next video. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you all in the next one.